In 1816, across much of the world, summer simply never came. Snow fell in June. Frost killed the crops in July. The sky stayed strangely dim and the harvests failed. The cause was a mountain on the far side of the world that had exploded a year earlier. The story begins in April 1815 in the tropics of what is now Indonesia. There stood a volcano called Mount Tambora. In 1815, it erupted in the most powerful volcanic explosion in recorded history. The blast was heard thousands of kilometers away. It tore the entire top off the mountain. Ash rained down and buried the surrounding land in darkness. The eruption devastated the region. Tens of thousands of people died, first from the eruption, then from the famine that followed. But the deadliest effect of all was one that no one could see. The explosion blasted ash and gas high into the upper atmosphere. There, tiny particles spread out into a vast, invisible veil. That veil slowly wrapped itself around the entire planet, and it began to reflect the sun's light back into space. A year later, in 1816, the effects arrived. Across the northern hemisphere, the seasons broke down. In New England, snow fell in the middle of June. Killing frosts returned in July and August. In Europe, cold rain poured down all summer long. The world had grown dark and cold, and no one knew why. The cold was not just uncomfortable, it was deadly. Crops failed across 2 continents. Grain froze or rotted in the fields. Food prices soared to impossible heights. In Europe, it became the worst famine of the century. There were bread riots and looting in the streets. Hunger and disease spread through weakened communities. Whole populations were pushed to the edge of survival. The particle veil did something eerie to the skies. Sunsets glowed a deep blood red. The daytime sun looked pale and weak. Painters captured the strange, luminous skies without understanding them. Many families simply gave up. Thousands of New England farmers abandoned their frozen land. They packed up and moved west, reshaping a young America. In parts of Asia, the climate chaos helped spread a deadly cholera epidemic. But the gloom also produced something unexpected. That June, a small group of writers were on holiday by a lake in Switzerland. The endless cold rain trapped them indoors. To pass the dreary days, they held a contest to write the scariest story. Around the fire, they told tales of the dead and the monstrous. One of the group was a young woman of just 18. In her mind, a chilling story took shape. A scientist who builds a living creature and then abandons it. Her name was Mary Shelley, and the story she began that cold summer would become a classic. It was Frankenstein. Another guest that summer wrote the first modern vampire tale. The cold, hungry year even helped inspire an early ancestor of the bicycle. For all this suffering and strangeness, one thing was missing. No one at the time knew the cause. Nobody connected a frozen summer in America and Europe to a volcano in the tropics. It would take more than 100 years for scientists to make the link. Only then did the world understand what had happened. One mountain, erupting in 1815, had chilled the entire planet. It starved and displaced millions, painted the skies red, and gave the world its most famous monster. The year without a summer is a reminder of how deeply connected and how fragile our whole world really is.